So I know many residents have come to me and Carlos asking if we could do this, and I reached out to his daughter, so glad he's able to do this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we're calling this presentation what, Dan?
Baseball has been very, very good to me.
So, taking us back to 1972, there was an article in the Southside newspaper called as he was being inducted to the Blue Island Area Sports Hall of Fame. And so my husband, Rich, is going to just read this because it gives him a nice overview
Get closer.
of his career, and then my dad's going to share with us a few of the stories.
Carlos Mark Chief Medrano, Clown Prince of the Washington Senators. He earned his nickname one day after saving several ball games in relief in Newport News, Virginia, when he was photographed wearing a Chiefs hat while driving a fire engine. The name stuck. Kidding around with his teammates was part of jovial Carlos Medrano's nature, and his handsome broad smile complements his reference as a clown prince. Representative of his clowning around, which he claims kept him loose, is the time he failed to get a hit but once in 3 years. You might say I'm hitting .333, quipped Medrano. 1 hit out of 3 years, that is. Throughout his baseball career, his managers could care less about his hitting. It was his talent on the mound as a reliever that made him a very valuable asset. Carlos Mark Jacinto Medrano was born on September 11, 1939 in Blue Island, Illinois, where he attended the Garfield Grade School. His interest in baseball started in 1951 as a member of the Little League American Legion team in Blue Island, managed by Bill Brokaw and Floyd Ganser, and in 1953 with Borac Pontiac in the Pony League. Advancing through the John Sullivan League in 1955, Carlos learned the art of pitching. And 1 year later, while hurling for the Blue Island Latinos, he came into his own as a talented player. Without the proper early training, I was fortunate to receive from men like John Banovich, Al Medrano, Morris Fernandez, Bill Brokaw, Lawrence Teeling, Abby Madrid, and Lefty Bravo, Carlos said. I feel I would have been severely handicapped in my pursuit of professional baseball. I was fortunate to have been raised in Blue Island, where businessmen saw fit to support Little League. I owe a lot to the Blue Island Little League and those people connected with it. After graduation from Thornton High School in Harvey, where he started as an infielder and excelled in wrestling, Carlos entered Thornton Junior College. While at Thornton JC, he performed a feat unheard of in modern-day hurling. He fractured both hands when he was hit by a pitched ball thrown by Wright Junior College pitcher Dick Mays. But Medrano went on and hurled Thornton to a 10-1 victory in the Illinois Junior College Conference Championship. Medrano attended Southern Illinois University for his junior year, where he developed a fine curve and attained exceptionally good control. Washington Senator scout Jack Sheehan eventually signed him to a contract, and after graduation from SIU, he reported to Middlesboro, Kentucky of the Appalachian League. In 1961, he was named right-handed pitcher of the year in the Appalachian League with an 11-2 one-loss record and a .294 ERA, leading Middlesboro to the Appalachian League championship. He also led the Appalachian League that year with 11 wins, 8 complete games, 98 innings pitched, and was a member of the 1961 All-Star team. From then on, all he did was win. In his 8 seasons in professional baseball, mostly as a workhorse in relief with 7 different clubs, Carlos never had a losing season. In 1962, Medrano was an elite member of the Pensacola Senators pitching staff with an 11-4 one-loss record and a very respectable 2.08 ERA when Pensacola won the Alabama-Florida League pennant. After a 10-8 season in 1964 with York of the AA Eastern League, Carlos served a hitch in the U.S. Marine Corps, and in 1965 reported to the parent Washington Senators spring training camp at Pompano Beach, Florida. On Friday, March 25th, 1965 to be exact, the New York Yankees beat the Washington Senators 4-3 in a spring exhibition game at Pompano Beach. Mickey Mantle and Elston Howard hit home runs that day for the Yankees. And as spring training games go, plenty of pitchers were used. But Carlos Medrano's contribution for 3 complete innings against the Yankees yielded no runs. From then on, Medrano rated high with manager Gil Hodges and Senators pitching coach Sid Hudson. When the Senators headed north on the road to DC Stadium, the Chief went with them. But when the Senators arrived at Raleigh, North Carolina, they bought another pitcher, Lindy McDaniel, and Carlos was optioned to Hawaii of the AAA Pacific Coast League, where he spent 3 productive seasons. Medrano rang down the curtain of his career in 1968 as a player coach with the Savannah Indians of the AAA Southern League. At the present time, Carlos Medrano lives with his wife Marilyn, daughter Christina, son Charles, in Riverdale. He is an industrial arts teacher at Thornridge High School, where he serves as assistant baseball and head wrestling coach. Carlos's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Joe Medrano, also live in Blue Island, and they, along with the entire Blue Island community, are proud to recognize today Carlos Mark Jacinto Medrano is an honored member of the Blue Island Area Sports Hall of Fame.
So we wanted to share that just to give kind of an overview of our dad's career. And so now he's just going to share some highlights, some stories that we hope you find interesting. We thought we'd start with how he came into baseball on the south side, like what brought his interest, how he first got exposed to baseball.
I really owe my background to Blue Island. She really knows where Blue Island is.
Oh, yeah.
It's a small little town on the edge of Chicago.
Hold it a little closer, Dan.
So I was privileged to live there because Blue Island offered me like stepping on stones in my whole baseball life. I played in the Little League, Pony League, American Legion, and on and on. So every step of the way, I was led. I would like to also point out that I had 3 brothers. They were all older than I was, so there were 4 Medrano boys, and I was the youngest. So I had good leaders to follow in my.
How about, when did you first get exposed to baseball games? Who had exposed you to that?
My grandfather worked for the railroad also, but he was a big St. Louis fan. And so he only took us to Cub games when the Cubs played the Cardinals. And so when the Cardinals were winning, well, he'd say, "Who wants a hot dog? You guys hungry?" So he would buy us treats and everything. But if Cubs were winning, my grandfather never said a word. And my older brothers would say, "Ask Grandpa for popcorn or tell grandpa that you're thirsty and stuff like that. So they used to put me up to that. But he was the one, because my father and mother both were from Mexico. And my father knew really nothing about baseball. And we lived in a house adjacent to the school's athletic fields. So we grew up outside, and Grandma would tell us, "Okay, boys, come home, go home," or whatever, for dinner, and that's, otherwise we stayed out of the house.
Fast forward a bit, I'm passing a couple articles and a picture of him when he was young playing baseball and in high school on the team. He played for the community college, and a scout recognized his talent and came to the house to make him an offer to play, and it didn't go exactly how he had planned, right?
Oh, yeah. So one day, professional scout came to our house, and he asked my father, "Where's the baseball player?" And so my mother, I think it was my mother, could have been my father, calls my oldest brother. "Come in the living room. We have a man who wants to talk to you." So my oldest brother, knowing that he knows that he's not the one you're looking for, comes running up, and yeah, "I'm his son," and I said, "Oh, he doesn't want to talk to you." But yeah, so my brother almost got signed. Unbelievable.
That's what happens when you have 8 kids in the family. They're all, fighting for that attention. So eventually, my dad did sign. He went to community college. He then went to Southern Illinois University, but then started playing in the off season. And his first trip was down to Pensacola in a Southern League, and it was the last segregated league. And he had an interesting, as he was getting off the bus, he got a taste of that right away, right?
Yeah, because I was in a suburban town, Blue Island. We didn't have any taste of segregation and stuff.
Oh.
So I didn't even know, but that league that I was joining was the last segregated league that baseball allowed. So,
So what happened as you got off the bus, Dad?
so now, I didn't know that, and I was seated towards the back, and I was young, I was fresh out of college and had a little flair or whatever. So I wore a straw hat, sunglasses, and I'm a big guy. I'm going to join my first professional team. So everybody's getting off the bus at the stadium, and here is a big guy. He was a big Italian guy. Panancione was his name. And he was greeting everybody. "Welcome to Pensacola." He says, "I know you're going to have a good year. Coaches have said, good things about you and all that." And so he's shaking everybody's hand. And so me and my roommate, do you have my roommate's picture somewhere?
Don, it's back there.
There's
Here.
It's this guy.
This guy.
He wrote a book. And anyway,
Oh, yeah, don't feel
I might say just a couple of words about him.
Well, no, finish this first. We'll
Okay.
get to him.
So now we're the last couple guys getting off the bus, and I go up to shake this guy's hand. It's this big Italian guy, and so I shake his hand, and he says, "What are you doing on this bus?" And I said, "What I'm in." The manager had told me that I was going to pitch opening day. I said, "What am I doing on the bus?" I said, "Sir, my name is, Carlos Medrano." And he says, "Well, what does that make you?" I said, "Well, that guy, my manager, told me I was going to be your starting pitcher for opening day." And he says, "Well, you can't even play on this team. What are you doing on it?" I said, "What do you mean I'm not?" He says, "This is a segregated league. So we don't allow any black players on here." Remember, I told you I was wearing a straw hat. So I had a straw hat on, sunglasses. And so the manager says, "Take your hat off." So I take my hat off. And he says, "Look, he's got straight hair. He's not one of your black boys." He says, "He's your starting pitcher,
He's one of them Latin boys, he said. He's one of them Latin boys.
So that was my introduction to the South.
And as he's told us, as they traveled in the South through Alabama and things like that, they saw many things they never saw, in the North, which was sad. One person he helped out, because at that time they were recruiting more and more Latin players from different Spanish-speaking countries, was a player named Louis Tiant. Some of you may remember.
Yep.
Right? Okay, we've got some hands. Do you want to tell them how you and Louis?
Yeah. Louis rode a boat from Cuba to Mexico that year. And so he didn't know any English. So they were in our league. And so he saw me and my name on our roster, Carlos Medrano. He said, "Oh, he must know Spanish." So he came over, talked to me right away, and said, "I need help." And I said, "You need help here?" He said, "I don't know what these people are talking about here." I said, "Nobody on the team speaks Spanish." He says, and they give me the ball every 4 days and tell me I'm going to pitch, and I can't even talk to my catcher. I go, "Oh my God." And so I helped him a lot that first year, and especially every time he came in to play in our town in Pensacola, and every time we played in his town. He played in Fort Walton Beach, Florida. And anyway, but the other thing was...
He went on to play for
the other thing was
the Giants. The Giants, right, Dad?
Yeah, he became a very good. He introduced most pitchers wind up like this and they throw like this. Louis went like this and wound up like this, and then I hope I don't fall down.
Yeah,
Don't fall
careful
down.
with that.
But when he got to here, he turned his back to the hitter like this.
Oh my God.
And he introduced that, and which was, the hitters never saw anybody doing that.
Right.
But that's what he did all the way around. Like this.
Okay.
And then he would whirl around and and that was it to you. And he went out to a hell of a career. And when he came to Mexico, he married a Mexican girl. And so he took her to his first club and all that. So she used to cook for me all the time. And yeah, so we became very good friends.
other earlier leagues, he has a baseball, I'll pass him around, that he has signed by most of his teams. And one of his first leagues was a Carolina League, and he played with someone you may know. Where's his book? Sweet Lou Pinella. He played with him for several years, and if you look
We were teammates.
this ball, his signature is right here, and then there's some articles with them too, so I'll pass those around. But what kind of temperament did he have, Dad, Lou Pinella? If you remember, he was the manager for the Cubs.
He was a manager for the Cubs.
Yeah.
But when he was young, he played with us for, I think, our first 3 years. And he was just, couldn't hold his temperature. He believed, honest to God, he really believed that nobody could get him out. And certainly nobody could ever strike him out, you know. And whenever anybody ever did, he would go crazy. He'd come back to the bench and break his bat over his knee and throw bats. Our manager used to really give him a lot of help because he would just throw the bat as he walked into the dugout after striking out or whatever, making it out. But he was very, very hot tempered. He could have been in the big leagues a lot earlier than he did. But he damn near won the Triple Crown in the Pacific Coast League, which is the top minor league team in the country. And he damn near won the Triple Crown, and he could have, but he didn't go to the next year. He didn't go to the big club. They didn't give him a spring training contract or anything, and because they were trying to temper his temper because he was just a hothead. But he could have been, and he did become a very, very good ball player.
So someone got them together, right?
Yeah.
They finally were reintroduced. My brother and my dad they went to the Cubs convention one time in the VIP pre-party, and that's when they hired Lou Pinella. He hadn't started yet, and he spotted him across the room, and he pointed to my dad, right? And he pointed at him, and they rekindled their friendship, and so he was able to reconnect with him at many ball games while he was in Chicago. So that was a nice full circle moment. So after he played in the South, he played in New York, right, Dad?
Yep.
And
That's where I married her mother.
his mother too. As he, just some, these are just some programs and stuff. While he was playing and being traded, something was happening that doesn't happen a lot. A player named Don Lown, a fellow pitcher, was also being traded along with him, correct?
Yeah,
What?
I really,
Promoted, sorry.
I
Promoted.
really, Don was from Maryland, straight out of high school. He never went to college. I was from Chicago, and I went to college. So we were people from different backgrounds, and you wouldn't think that, somehow, I think because we both were very serious about baseball, and a lot of guys, they'd come out of college or wherever, and they got their first wallet, they got they get their first money, and they go out and they go crazy. And so a lot of guys' careers are left at the bars, and guys never develop. Some guys, don't control themselves. But Don and I, we spent all our years together, starting from the very first year when we both, with a several hundred guys went to spring training. We got roomed together and we stayed roommates all the way through. And that doesn't happen in professional sports because guys get injured, guys get married, guys go different ways. But we stayed together all the way. And for 50 years, he had a 50-year marriage.
He's still married.
Yeah, he's still
Don's
married. Don is still
And Don ended up buying a house only a few blocks away from my dad's house in Arizona, so they reconnected as well. Arizona. Don wrote a book about his baseball days. If you ever want to borrow it from my dad, it's interesting. And there's a little chapter called The Chief. That's about him. So while was playing, he was within the Washington Senators program. And let's see what's next yet. That's when then you were traded to Hawaii, right? So you spent some time in Hawaii. How did they treat you there?
Oh. Do you have my picture?
It's back by
There's a
Chuck, can you
picture
go
of,
get the picture? Do you see it? Can you get around? Here,
Yes.
I'll get it.
I was the only player who played for Hawaii in the Pacific Coast League for 3 years. So I was there a long time, and I was pretty successful. So fans really liked me, and I thought they kind of in the picture they show us coming back from a very important series. I can't remember who it was, but the fan club turned out, and all the fans met the plane, and they were giving us leis, flower leis. So there's a picture there of us together because we were roommates, and I got like twice as many as he does, and he was a starting pitcher all his life, and but I said, this is who they love here in Hawaii. Not you, but so I always kidded him about that. So they had that picture in like the Tribune, that's the big newspaper out there in Hawaii, and it said the Islanders conclude a successful road trip. It was a great place to play.
Did you ever meet Don Ho?
I should totally say that. He spent many days on our road.
Don Ho, we're talking about. If you didn't hear me in the back.
Yeah.
Don Ho was the biggest. He started on the not Waikiki side where we were, but he started on the other side of the island at his mother's tavern and became a big star, and very popular. And he used to hang out. He liked baseball, so he used to hang out with us. And sometimes he didn't go home. He would come home with us, and I said, "Dad, get that bum off my floor. Your buddy Don Ho is late sleeping on the couch." And his wife would call us like 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. And I said, "You answer it. You know who it is."
Yeah.
I have a Joe DiMaggio because I liked the Yankees growing up and stuff. And So one day, Don and I are in this bar, very popular bar in Waikiki Beach there. We live like, 2-3 blocks away from the ocean, Waikiki Beach. Anyway, so one day we're in this bar, and I woke up and I nudged my roommate. I said, "Look who's walking towards us over here." And he says, "Who?" I said, "Just look, you know who it is." And it was Joey Marshall.
Oh.
And
And
he's
there's
got-
more.
And he's got 2 babes on either arm like this. And he's coming in and he says, and he comes up, walks right over to us,
Put the microphone.
and he says, "Chief, I was at the game today. You did a hell of a job in that 9th inning, buddy. You were in trouble and you got us out." I said, "I'm coming back tomorrow," he says. "Congratulations," he says. I said, "You're gonna get there, son, you're gonna get there." And I'm just shaking his hand, and I didn't even know what to say. And my buddy talks, but yeah, so I met Joe DiMaggio. So I called my brothers up long distance.
Yeah.
And I said, "Guess who just shook my hand?" He said, "Well," I said, "Joe DiMaggio." He shook my hand and said, "I did a good job." I said, "Oh my God."
You couldn't say anything back, but he shook your hand, right?
Yeah. But, so my brother says,
Pass it around.
so what did you tell him?
I passed it.
And I said, "I didn't say anything. I didn't know that." I was dumbfounded.
So in those years in Hawaii, my dad was then, each spring was brought to the Major League spring training rosters, right? And
I was in camp 3 years.
camp 3 years. And do you want to tell them some of the players you pitched against? Or, do you want to tell them about Roberto Clemente?
People ask me, you spend a lot of time against these, good players and all that. Who was the best hitter you ever saw, or something like that? And in spring training, you pitch against everybody. And I said, my guy I already said was Roberto Clemente. He was from
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. I don't know if you know the history of Roberto Clemente, but every winter he would fly a plane to Puerto Rico. He wouldn't fly it, but he would put food in it. That was his food plane, you could call it. Well, one winter, and his wife saw this happen. The plane took off and just cleared the airport in spring training and crashed and died. So Roberto Clemente ended his career at the peak of his career, and he was a heck of a ball player.
What did he say to Mom? Did he tell? Didn't you see him one time? And he told your mom. And he told our mom.
Yeah. That he said, "Oh,
Put closer.
we were at a hotel in Chicago."
My mom and I. Your mom and my dad.
We're in the hotel and he was getting on and we were getting off. One of us, we were at the elevator. And he said, Chief, he says, "Hey, this guy," he said, "Roberto Clemente had this great wrists, and I found out because you play against these guys, you know, year in, year out. And so you, if you're a little wise, you can learn a little bit. He was a great inside hitter. If you throw balls inside, boy, you can rest assured they're gonna bounce off the wall in left field or over. And so it occurred to me at one of the times I played against them that maybe that's what I should do. I should throw a ball that's a little bit more inside so it will go foul. I said, no, that might be the idea, because he would just turn. I mean, he never missed. That was his pitch. He was an inside ball. And so I would throw him 2 pitches. Maybe this was a strike zone was here. I would throw the ball in. But boy, his eyes would light up when he saw the ball coming in, and he would swing. I'd have strike 2 on him right now. Catcher would come out, or even after the first one, the catcher would come out and say, Chief, you know we can't throw him inside. You can't do it. He'll eat you up. I said, he's eaten me up many times, other times. I said, I know that. So I would throw 2 inside. Now I got 2 strikes on him. They're foul. And now I would throw the next two up by his ankles, by the dirt. And sometimes he would foul tip, otherwise he'd go for it again. Well, he'd get so nervous and he wanted to hit me so bad because I was a reliever, so I was at the end of the game, and so this was a big hit. I told the next one, bounce that bad ball in the ground so he couldn't hit it. And he'd swing anyway, straight through it and then walk off. And he said, you did that to me all my whole career. He said, I couldn't hold off, he goes, but yeah, he made a big front thing of it. But I knew that.
Our dad talked to us about how he pitched, you know, at the time with Johnny Bench, Pete Rose, the Big Red Machine, and like the Yankee players that my husband talked about, Mickey Mantle. And finally ended the career at, do you want to tell them one more about?
How about it? How about the balls going over me?
Okay, go ahead. Okay.
One of my first
Hold it closer.
one of my first spring trainings, we opened the season with the Yankees, and sure enough, late in the innings, I was a reliever. Late in the game, it was a really good game. I don't know what the score was, but it must have been close, otherwise I wouldn't have been in there. But I was in there, and the first 3 hitters were, you know, and me, I was raised, you know, watching the Yankees, were big time Yankee hitters. Geez, I can't remember. I think I told you the name. But anyway, so the first guy is up there, big Yankee hitter, and I'm on the mound. I said, well, I got to throw my best pitch. I don't know what the catcher called, but I shook him off, and I wanted my best pitch. So I throw my best pitch, and the guy hits it. I said, oh, what are you throwing? I don't know, throw one pitch now. And I hear this ball coming right at me, and I hear it. I swore it hit my ear, because I hear it tick. Base hit. I look down for the signal from the catcher for the next pitch, and he puts down some other thing, and I said, oh, I don't like that one. I want my next best pitch, whatever that was at the time. Here comes the ball again. You know, it's only the second pitch I've thrown so far. And I go, oh my God, this is gonna kill me. I hear it, and I swear it hit this little part of it. And and I step off the mound, and I'm all nervous. I said, holy cow, I've thrown two of my best pitches, and I'm almost decapitated.
Oh, God.
And so I'm reaching for the rosin bag, and I'm trying to kill time here. The catcher comes out, and
Yogi Berra, was it
Yeah.
Yogi Berra? I think.
here he comes. And I said, oh. And I used to throw, at that time, I used to throw a spitter. I said, I want to throw a spitter. I don't give a damn. I said, I don't want another ball. Bang! Here comes the ball. And I swear, this time, it hits, you have a button on top of your hat. It hits the top of my hat. My hand goes. And I go, it's only the third pitch I pitched. I go, time out, time out. And here comes my catcher, here comes my manager, Gil Hodges. And Gil Hodges is a big guy, mean looking guy. He comes running out, and I said, what's the matter? What's the matter, kid? I said, and this
Microphone.
I think this was my third year in Hawaii. I said, sir, send me back to Hawaii. I said, they've never, I played a long time, but I never was hit with a ball. Some guys get hit with a ball once in a while and stuff. I never was hit with a ball. I said, I've played a long time now. I said, and I've never been hit with a ball. And I've only thrown 3 pitches, and all 3 of them could have ended my life. I said, I want to go back to Hawaii. Gil Hodges is a mean-looking guy anyway. He's big. And he looked at me, son, take the ball, try again. This won't happen, I'm telling you, this just doesn't happen. So he made me pitch the inning. Oh my God.
So it wasn't all wins and strikeouts. And although he never did make the major league, his luggage did, but he never did. By the time his luggage got to the game, they needed a left-hander, not a right-hander, right?
Yeah.
And so.
He got me to McDonough.
But yeah, so his career ended in Savannah. I was born in July. He then finished the season and then started teaching that September. My dad coached many years baseball at the high school, Thornridge High School, then at Thornton Community College. Then after he retired in Illinois, my parents moved to Maine, and he coached at Camden Rockport High School and brought their baseball team to the state finals for the 2 times in a row for the first time in the school's history. So he had quite the coaching career. We're really proud of him. And so we hope you enjoy. There's a lot of different memorabilia. We had one more book up here we forgot to mention. The high school he went to was the same high school where Lou Boudreau went. So that's why this book was up here. And there's pictures and articles. There's another scrapbook if anyone's interested. Does anyone, at the beginning I passed out baseballs. Can you hold that? Does anyone not have a baseball?
Does everybody have a little, because there's a
Little
number.
baseballs? Did you get one? Did you guys get a baseball? Here. We have a prize. Did you get Did you go get one?
Very good, Carol.
You grab two, you guys.
But anyway, yeah, there were
Did you get one?
different. I
Okay.
could talk forever, I think.
Okay. Chuck, you want to come up and pick it?
Sure.
Chuck's the quiet sibling.
This is my
Yeah.
son, he's 2 years younger than my daughter, and they're just a great couple of children to have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dad. Does anyone have baseball number 30? You have a number on your baseball. Does anyone have 30? No? Okay, let's try again.
Oh,
Number
you dropped
4.
yours. Wait.
What? Oh, you have 30?
I have 4.
Oh, you have 4. Okay. Okay.
Oh,
So, the prize, you know, I was a teacher, many of you know I was a teacher, so I wanted to do some sort of game. So the prize is a Ron Santo bobblehead. So hopefully you're a Cub fan, you can appreciate that. Oh, good, good. So yeah, thank you. If you have any questions
you.
for my dad, or there's some water back there, or?
Where's our W?
Oh, do you have a question?
Carlos, when you were coming up, what might be the starting salary of a relief pitcher for the Senators in the late 50s or early 60s?
Oh. Well, the salaries were getting bigger, and I had a major league contract for 3 years. Every year they brought me up, they signed a new contract, and they always said, and so I used to always say, well, I did well last year. I think I certainly deserve a raise from, this is the same contract. So I used to try to always get a raise. And so I used to stick to the needle. I said, well, I'm not coming back for the same contract. I said, it's not my problem that you have too many relief pitchers or like that. I said, I think compared to all the other pitchers, I deserve a raise.
Do you remember the amount, Dad, by chance?
Oh, so I was always getting a contract, a major league contract, but I didn't get, every, because after 3 years,
Thank you.
that was it. But I would say, because I think the original major league contract was 12,000.
12,000.
Well, that was the original one. That was the minor. That was the minor at the bottom, but then they just came, escalating every year. Every year was more and more and more, and now it's just.
Millions.
It's a
Yeah.
million.
Yeah.
Millions.
Just, oh yeah, and they signed for like 3 years or something like that. It's ridiculous.
Crazy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dad.
Very interesting.